Good morning. If everyone could please take their seats and we will get started. My name is Gary Lee. I'm the Director of Administration for the County of Erie. Welcome to the first 2020 Census Town Hall meeting in Erie County. We are just thrilled about this event because of the importance and moreover, to inspire and motivate individuals to participate in this important process. You know, as I travel around the region and I go to speak with various people, one of the questions that is commonly asked is, how can I partake? How can I participate? How can I make Erie County better? Well, this is one of the ways you can definitely make Erie County better. And you're gonna find out from our information on this morning the value and the importance of participating in the 2020 census. We know from a dollar perspective, $2,100 per person goes towards federal funding, and that's per year. And of course, the census is done every 10 years, so we're talking approximately $21,000 per person that we have the opportunity of receiving. Or you can look at it, if we do not have the proper count, we lose that amount, which is a tremendous amount of money. In addition to that, when we talk about the census, we know that it impacts and it affects Medicaid, Medicare, housing, the community development block grant, schools, roads, bridges, you name it. It goes on as far as the impact of this particular important process. And from the congressional perspective, we have the opportunity to either pick up seats, stay the same, or lose seats if we do not get the proper count. So again, it is so important that we participate and be motivated to get our family and friends involved in this process. Without delay, we have the honor of having Pennsylvania's Second Lady with us in this morning. And I'm going to introduce her, and of course, she's gonna come up and have remarks. The Second Lady, Giselle Burrito Fetterman. Giselle was born in Brazil and immigrated to the United States as a child, living as an undocumented immigrant for more than a decade. She is an access and equity advocate, a hugger, and the Second Lady of Pennsylvania. As Second Lady, Giselle in 2019 opened the swimming pool of the Lieutenant's Governor residence to the public for the first time. She oversaw the program to give nonprofits and other groups that are served in our marginalized populations an exclusive access to the pool. She is also serving as Goodwill Ambassador for the 2020 census. Back at home in Braddock, Giselle founded Free Store 15104, where surplus and donated goods are received and distributed to neighbors in need. The Free Store serves approximately 1,600 clients a month and has inspired 9 spinoff locations. Giselle also founded 412 Food Rescue, a community-wide effort to end hunger and reduce food waste. 412 Food Rescue works with food retailers, wholesalers, and other food providers to rescue unsellable but perfectly good food. 412 FR has rescued over 4 million pounds of food. Giselle also created For Good PGH, a nonprofit that inspires kindness. Its first initiative, Hello Hijab, received both national and international praise. Janelle's work has been featured in Huffington Post, The Today Show, CNN, NPR, and more. She is a 40 under 40 honoree, a TEDx speaker, a Jefferson Awards recipient, and a mother of 3. Now please join me in welcoming the one and only Giselle Fetterman.
Thank you so much. I feel like there's nothing left to say after that. I'm really happy to be here in Erie with all of you. You could be anywhere, but you're here today, so thank you. I'm happy that we're kicking it off in Erie. I spent a lot of time here. We spent a lot of time at Presque Isle over the summer with the kids. I ate a lot of chocolate from Romolo's. I love this school. I was at Strong Vincent's earlier today. Brianna, who's here, started a free store, so one of those spin-offs started here in Erie. But being a part of the census, for me, it's really personal and it's really emotional. So I'm really happy to be involved in this. You know, growing up as a young immigrant in this country, I was invisible, right? I felt invisible, but I was also directed to be invisible. I share a story that each morning when I left for school, my mom would say, "I love you, have a great day, be invisible." And that's something I heard every single day of my life through high school because of the fear that our family would be deported or separated. So, you know, my message has always been to kind of not write anything off, not write people off, not write places off, and not write situations off. And that's the work that I've done with equity in my community, as well as prior to that working in Newark. And that's why this is so important to me, because I went from this very invisible place to a very visible place. And now I understand the impact of what the census can have for our communities, what it could have had for my family as well. But you know, I took my experiences and my gratitude for getting to live in this country, and that's what I've concentrated my adult's work, my life's work to. And whether that has been starting nonprofits that can support families, can support women, to looking at this new position that I'm in and how I can impact in that way. And the pool was a really great experience. You know, my husband's office came with this pool, which didn't really make sense why the lieutenant governor would get a mansion and a pool. And we didn't need a mansion. We have an apartment. We're just fine. But I really wanted the pool. And you know, you look at our dark history of racism in regards to segregation in swimming, how children of color are the ones who are mostly drowning, and how can we use that to make an impact. So we were able to open the pool for the first time in the history of Pennsylvania. It became the People's Pool, and hundreds of young people this summer learned how to swim, learned swim safety, and now are confident in that environment. And mostly they felt welcomed, which is what we want everyone to feel in our wonderful state of Pennsylvania. So I'm really happy to be a part of this. They even made a cartoon. Did you see my cartoon outside? It's so cute. I know. I love it. But, you know, it's that message that if you live in Pennsylvania, you matter to me and you matter to the census. And how can we make sure everyone understands that often the populations that are least likely to complete the census are the ones that are going to be most impacted? And how can you carry that message when you're, you know, at dinner with friends? And how can we continue to push that across the state? So really, I'm just grateful to be here with all of you. And let's talk about the census. Thank you. Should I sit?
Let's give Second Lady Fetterman another round of applause. You know, I always joke when I'm behind a podium that I feel like I'm in church because my father, God bless his soul, was a pastor. And by the look on everyone's face, it seems like I'm in church because it seems a little early. It seems like some people need to wake up. Okay, that's a joke. You can laugh. But, you know, the next speaker we have is Mayor Schimber, and I think I speak loud enough that I can come behind the podium for a couple of seconds here. The county executive and I are thrilled to work with Mayor Schimber and his team. Mayor Schimber calls it the vision, a community of choice. And when he goes out, and I've been with the mayor on several occasions, a lot of times, and I really enjoy hearing him speak, but he talks about building opportunity. Then he talks about restoring hope. Then he talks about transforming Erie. We know that if we're going to do those things, it's going to take every one of us in this audience, in this room. Moreover, it's going to take everyone in the city and the county. Timing is everything. We have the right mayor, we have the right county executive, we have the right people in leadership and business and in other community endeavors. Please join me in welcoming our great mayor to the stage, Mayor Schimber.
Sure, really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Gary, and welcome everyone. And Isn't Gary's suit great? Isn't that a nice suit? That's the first time I've seen that one, so I asked him, is that new? He said, yeah. Very nice, Gary. Thank you for your words as well. I appreciate it. And after you and Giselle, there really is nothing left to say. I don't have anything new to say, I don't think. But I do want to say we're very lucky to have Giselle Fetterman here with us, Pennsylvania's second lady. It really is going to help us promote the importance, I think, of the census and encourage every resident of Erie to make sure they are counted. Giselle, it's great to see you again, and again, thanks for promoting the census here in Erie. We're also lucky to have Michelle Jagai with us, working full-time throughout Erie County, encouraging and helping every resident to participate in the census. Can we have a round of applause for Michelle? Michelle, we really appreciate all the work you are doing and every day to make sure we get a complete count. Participating in the 2020 census is the single most important thing I think every individual in Erie County can do this year. It's going to really help transform our community if everyone participates. The census is only 9 questions. It only takes about 10 minutes to fill out. Here's another important fact, probably the most important one. All individual information is kept totally confidential for 73 years. So by filling out the census, you're not disclosing anything to anyone. The only information released from the census is the totals that come about. So if you're an immigrant, if you're a refugee, if you just had a problem with the law, completing the census will have absolutely no impact on you individually. When the census begins here in Erie in about a month, I encourage all residents to complete the 2020 census. You can do it online, by phone, or through the mail. For those who do not answer in April, the census workers will be hired, or are in the process of being hired right now, and are people from our own community here. They'll begin knocking on doors, and they'll continue doing that until July 31st, so we can get everyone counted. I know you've heard me say this a lot. You've already heard it a couple times today, but I'm going to keep saying it. For every resident we miss in the census count, we lose $2,100 per year, every year for the next 10 years. We know that in 2010, we literally missed thousands of people, many thousands of people here in Erie County. Even just within the city, thousands of people were missed. If we miss just 1,000 this year, that means we lose $2.1 million per year in federal funding every year for the next 10 years. I hope I can count on everyone to be counted, everyone throughout all of Erie County. To learn more about the census, on the 2020 census, visit 2020census.gov and get information there. So thanks for being here today. And Gary, you back up? Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We appreciate those great facts and those words of inspiration. Now I would like to welcome to the stage Mr. Bill Jackson, Ms. Caitlin Henderland, and Michelle Jagai. Thank you. Now this is going to be an opportunity for every one of you in the audience to participate. We have a panel up here that's very knowledgeable. We're going to have cards out and be collected if you have particular questions, which is very important. So feel free to take advantage of the expertise that we have here on the stage. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. It works. Yes. What I'd like to do for the guests that we invited up, I'd like to have them introduce themselves, and if they could share with us what their role will be in the 2020 census. We'll start with you, Michelle.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Lee. My name is Michelle Jagai, and I'm the Census Outreach Coordinator for Erie County. So I've been working hard to get out and meet as many community members and get the message to them as possible about the importance of the census, as well as what to expect when they get those forms in the mail next March, or this March, next month. I'm going to hand this over to Caitlin.
Thanks, Michelle. My name is Caitlin Handrahan. I'm wearing two hats here today. I'm here on behalf of the Pennsylvania Commission for Women, of which I'm very honored to be a member of, and also as the director of the Public Policy Fund at Penn State Behrend. Today, I can't stress enough the importance of the census. Women are traditionally some of the most undercounted populations, and they make up some of the most important populations to account for. Everything from SNAP to WIC, all of these benefits are tied to the census. And I just really want to stress that the 10 minutes that it takes to fill out the census will impact us for the next 10 years. So to me, it's a no-brainer. You should fill out the census.
I'm Bill Jackson, President of United Way of Erie County. I think our role primarily will be to help spread the awareness, particularly to the hard-to-reach populations that we and our partners work with, especially in our community schools. In addition, with our Imagination Library program, we are sending books to the homes of over 60% of the children under the age of 5 throughout Erie County, so we can use that as a way to, get the word out to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Please remember that you can fill out the cards and pass them down if you have any questions. I'm going to start with the first question, and it's directed to our Second Lady Fetterman. Second Lady Fetterman, as you travel around the state and go into various communities, can you share with us from your personal perspective how you feel that this would be beneficial not only for those communities that you visit, of course, but for Erie community as well?
Thank you. And what I find is that, once you share the actual impact, I think a lot of people aren't aware that even the SNAP benefits are impacted. Head Start funding, they never made the connection that was directly connected to the census. And I think our job will be to continue to really push that message. Once they realize what's at stake, I think that the prioritizing kind of goes up with it. But I think that's what I see when I go around is folks really aren't aware of what it does. And I think it's, in many cases, they really never got to be experienced or exposed to the direct impact of the census. So I think this is really strong messaging, and everyone's working really hard to get that out, and I think it's going to really help close that gap that we've seen in previous years.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Mayor, while you have the mic, I'm going to ask you a question here. For the last few censuses that we have had, we've seen a decrease as far as in particular with the city of Erie. And we're hoping that, of course, the numbers go back up, and I believe that they will. As you visit the city and as you talk with various individuals in the city, what are some of the concerns you may hear about the census and some of their concerns? Thank you.
I think people get concerned about disclosing who they are, where they are, and they're afraid if they have a parking ticket they haven't paid or something, or if they're a new American, or if they're an immigrant or a refugee. And Michelle did a great job of kind of explaining some of the concerns you have growing up in that way. They're afraid something bad's going to happen to them if they participate in the census. And the thing we have to just make clear to everyone is that you're just a number in the census. None of your detailed information is given to anyone. Again, it's for 73 years. It's kept totally private. So, and what's becoming more obvious to me, and I know I didn't realize this in previous census, but how much money we lose if we don't get full participation. And particularly for the city of Erie, if we fall below 100,000, it has even a bigger impact on us. So it's really, really important that we get everybody counted.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. I think that's a good lead-in for you, Michelle, to first of all share with the audience what's different with this particular census, because I do know that they have changed some things. That's one. And then two, some of the misinformation that the mayor shared with us. Can you just clarify from the census perspective how that is false? Thank you.
Right, thank you, Gary. So this time for the census, for the first time in 2020, people can respond to the census both online and touch-tone phone. The initial invitations will inquire people to respond one of those two ways. If they don't respond one of those two ways, they will get a paper copy in the mail on the third attempt to engage them. After that is when the census takers come to their door. So that is a big change we'll see in the 2020 census. And with that information going live online, it does bring about fear about how that's that data will be handled safely, and to know that the Census Bureau does everything in their power to constantly try and hack into their own systems to make sure they're safe. So we want people to know that the Census Bureau is aware of safety concerns and is constantly on top of making sure that everyone's data is kept confidential and safe.
Okay, thank you. A follow-up to that particular information that you provided, the new American population. I know that you and your team have been working and getting the word out as far as the initial outreach. Can you share and can you elaborate some additional initiatives that you're doing to reach out to this particular community and to really build that comfort zone?
Right, so we know with addressing any audience that it's important that they're hearing the message from trusted faces, familiar faces, and in languages that are their primary language. So we have been working to record some informational videos that are in multiple languages that can be accessed and shared on social media and other internet platforms, and making sure that we get the message out that the census is safe, easy, and confidential.
Okay, thank you. This question is for you, Caitlin. I know that you're very active in the political worlds as far as really encouraging people to be proactive as opposed to be reactive. And in your initial comments, you made a few statements and facts as it pertains to women. Can you share with us what you and your team are doing to engage more women in the process for the 2020 census?
Yeah, thank you. I'd love to speak on that. So as we are promoting the census and talking about it, one of the best things that we can do is talk to those that are in our networks about it. As Michelle mentioned, the familiar face is what really helps and what really gets that word out. So as much as those of you in this room who are obviously very proactive are here today, as much as you can engage with your own networks and you can speak peer-to-peer about why the census is important. This is something that's going to impact us both in terms of funding, but also in terms of our legislature, right? Our representation in Congress. All of that comes down to this, and that's why it's so important that we do our own job and we have a responsibility to sort of speak to those within our networks and help promote the census as a whole.
Thank you, thank you. Bill, this question is for you. You're up next. As we know, you're the head of United Way, and your organization, just like other organizations, are affected and impacted when it comes to funding. So can you share from your perspective, I know you shared a few of the initial programs, but can you share from your perspective how important it is that people participate and how that will tie into United Way as far as leveraging funding and so forth?
Sure, thank you. When we look at the amount of money that's left on the table with the thousands of people that don't get counted just in Erie County, and then we think about the dollars that we at United Way raise and distribute in the community so strategically and so carefully, and it's just, to think that there's that much money that could be more coming into the community is really inspiring us to, as I said before, get the word out, awareness, et cetera. And I mentioned the community school model. Something else I want to mention is 211, which was just celebrated yesterday as 211 Day. February 11, 211, get it? But if you don't know, 211 is a phone number that you can call, and it's for non-emergency situations, but it has access to social services, human services. The database is actually a statewide database, so if you have a relative in Philadelphia or something, you could call 211 here and get information for them. But my point is, these kinds of services rely on, to a great extent, on the kinds of monies that we're talking about being left on the table. So we can do a great job of connecting people with services, but if those services run out of money, what can we do for them? So we see ourselves as connecting people with services. The census is really important to making sure that we maximize those services that are available.
Great, thank you, Bill. This question is for you, Michelle. How many languages is the census in?
Well, that is a great question. So with the census being available online, they were able to add 6 additional languages, making it a total of 12 languages online and via telephone in addition to English. And there will also be 59 language guides available to help people complete the paper copy of the form, and that includes Braille and large print.
Great, great. You can hold on to the mic, Ms. Michelle. This question is for you as well. April 1st, 2020 is Census Day. What does that mean?
So April 1st, 2020 is Census Day, and that is a day to celebrate the census. However, people will be invited to respond ahead of that. Starting March 12th will be when the flyers start arriving in people's mailboxes. So April 1st will be a day of awareness about the census. It'll be a day that we can all talk about the census, but we will have from March 12th until the end of July to make sure that everybody in Erie County gets counted.
Can you repeat those dates again?
Sure. So the time frame we're looking at is March 12th to July 31st.
Great, thank you. Caitlin, this question is for you. We know that you work on a university campus. What type of initiatives, what type of programs are you doing to engage the various college students in this important initiative?
Sure. Thanks for that question. So the census has produced a lot of great materials. You'll actually see a lot of them on the table in the back and the table out in the lobby. And as much as we can get those materials on our college's campuses and get those in front of students, I know in my own political science courses that I teach, I talk about the census a lot. And so as much as we can promote the census on campus, we can have a higher response rate. Now, college students pose a tricky situation with their residency, but that's not something that we can't mitigate and overcome.
Okay, great, thank you. This question is going to be for Second Lady Fetterman. The question is, by you being the ambassador for the 2020 census, what is your objective and goal as you go around the state of Pennsylvania?
So I'm becoming that person that you have any conversation with me, you're going to hear about the census, right? And I'm getting really creative. Like today, my kids have Valentine's Day at school. So with the Valentine's they brought to distribute to the kids came with like a little chocolate, a magnet, and then a census card for their parents. So I think it's important to drill that message, right? To really get folks familiar with it, exposed to it. So I am that person that is talking about the census every single day, everywhere I go. Dinner conversation gets awkward, bring up the census. Birthday parties, I'm talking about the census. And I want us to become comfortable in doing that too. As we go, we should all be ambassadors to push this message forward.
I tell you what, that deserves a round of applause. Let's give a round of applause. That's very creative, very creative, very creative. I love it. Thank you, thank you. Mayor Schimber, this question is for you. As you continue to work and embrace all people, which is very, very important to you and your administration, why do you feel that we have to make sure we have an accurate count and a full count this time?
You know, does racism and discrimination still exist in Erie? Unfortunately, yes, it does. But again, if I accomplish nothing else as mayor, that's what I would like to eliminate. I'd like every individual in Erie to be loved and accepted for the unique talents, skills, and abilities that each one of us possesses. And just think, if we were able to do that, what an incredible community this would be. When we lose census money, it's hurting the people in Erie that are most in need of it. So it's very important. We need to get this message to them as well. It's important that they are counted and that they're perfectly safe being counted. There's nothing to worry about. But again, the impact we've talked about several times already of the millions of dollars we lose every year if we have an inaccurate census, that's hurting the people in Erie that are most in need of the help. We need to get that message to them as well.
Thank you, Mary. Let's give a round. You know, as we wrap up, by the way, I'm having a great time up here with the panel. I think it's very insightful. As you can tell, they're very knowledgeable. Not only are they very knowledgeable, they have a great passion to what it is that they do. So as we get ready to wrap up, and we're just going to go down the line, and we're going to start with you, Michelle. What one takeaway would you want individuals in the audience to share with their family and friends on this important initiative? And as we're going down, as Michelle's speaking, please, the rest of the panel, think about that. Just one takeaway, or you can even add two takeaways that you really want to make sure that the audience is aware of, but moreover, that they go back and that they share with their family and friends. Michelle?
All right. Thank you. I'm glad you started with me so nobody can steal mine, because I did take this from somebody else, but it's a really important talking point. The money follows the count, not the need, and it's really important that everybody knows that without an accurate count, we cannot justify the money coming into the community for these programs that we know we need for all our community members.
Thank you. Caitlin.
I would say my biggest takeaway is in the time it takes for you to scroll through Facebook or Twitter is you can finish the census even faster. So for those 10 minutes that it takes to finish the census, that'll impact our lives and every one of our lives for the next 10 years.
There are so many great things going on in our community. Just look at the cranes all over the place. And, anybody can be part of this renovation, this revitalization, and this is another way to do that, is to stop the drain of this money that we're missing because of the undercount. So we can all be part of this great renaissance.
I would ask that every one of you not only make sure you and every member of your family is counted, but contact 10 other people in the Erie region and make sure that they and every member of their family is also counted, and encourage them to contact 10 more. Let's get everybody counted in Erie County.
Now, just like there is power in voting, there is power in this. There is power in being counted. There is the power of numbers, and that we have to be a part of this. That would be my message.
Wonderful, wonderful. Hey, let's give this great panel a round of applause. I'll end as I started. We are extremely honored to have Second Lady Giselle Fetterman with us. They kicked off this town hall meeting with Erie. The best first. That's what I like to say, the best first.
Erie!
Yes. The best. Yeah, let's give a round of applause for that. Yeah, absolutely. But you heard all the brilliant information, brilliant facts, but I tell you what, it's not going to mean anything. It's not going to mean anything if we're not proactive. Too many times we have individuals that, for whatever reason, want to talk about the negative things or perhaps complain about the negative things, but that is a reactive mindset. We want to be proactive. I'm not going to reiterate all the facts that were shared by the team in the panel, but what I will share with you is the mayor challenge. He put out a challenge. And I'm going to take that challenge seriously, Mayor, to contact 10 people, at least 10 people, and inspire and encourage them to be a part of the 2020 census. That is so, so important. Please make sure you take the literature out there on the table. It is very, very important literature. It has the website, all the contact information. It has all answers to most frequently asked questions. Please take that literature and not only take it, share it. Share it with your friends. That is so important. It was Caitlin who brought up the fact about social media and going through Twitter and Facebook. By the time you stroll through those various sites, you could have completed that census. So we need, again, we can't talk about this enough. So I invite I challenge you to contact 10 people. I thank you for giving of your time. We don't take this for granted. You could have been anywhere this morning. I thank you for taking the time this morning to come and listen to the Second Lady of Pennsylvania and to our mayor and all the panelists. Let's give them another round of applause. Let's give yourselves a round of applause. And that concludes our program. Thank you and have a great day.